The mayor's got 10 minutes for questions. We're going to start with on-topic questions. Craig, you got on-topic?
Okay, I'll take the on-topic question. Mayor, with at the federal level, the future of school funding, the future of funding to cities, with the kind of pressures with so many people in public employment being laid off, how might that affect what you're trying to do here in Chicago?
Yeah, that's a great question. And literally, Mike asked that question upstairs. Is Mike here? Is he still here? He went to class. Mike asked that very question, didn't he? He did. And what I expressed to Mike was, first of all, we have to acknowledge the danger and the threat that this administration poses to cities like Chicago. And it's why I'm investing in everything from infrastructure to our education system to good paying jobs. Look, there's no secret that the city of Chicago, our tax dollars, we send billions of dollars to the federal government. The least they can do is to return our fair share. Despite who's in the White House, it's not going to stop what we do as a city. We're going to continue to invest in people, and particularly our young folks. Thank you for that question.
Mayor, what businesses or organizations are you seeing step up most this year in order to provide those extra 1,000 jobs? Obviously, corporate partners are a big part of why One Summer Chicago is possible. So can you talk about how you are going to be able to create those 1,000 additional jobs when, as we know, like the number of applicants always far outpaces how many slots
Yeah, thanks
are
for that
available?
question. I'm going to turn it over to Charles Smith, our Vice Chair of our World Business Chicago.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, at World Business Chicago, what we've tried to do is a tremendous amount of outreach to our CEOs. As you probably know, we have about 100 CEOs that are board members of World Business Chicago, and we understand the importance of the infrastructure and the economic growth that this program provides. So we have a strategic effort to incorporate more of our corporate partners, in addition to all the partners that you see on the stage.
Are there more corporations stepping up this year compared to last?
Absolutely. A part of this is efficiency. And a part of it is wherewithal and where to go to get the applications and to match the young people up with these corporations. So that is part of the role World Business Chicago is taking.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
Could you explain how a temporary 6-week summer job program translates to sustainable violence reduction? Because that's part of the goal of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the numbers bore witness last year. Austin there were 1,672 young people who were hired from Austin. The 15 police districts saw a decline in certain crimes as much as 57%. And so we don't think that's a coincidence. There's a direct correlation between communities that have W-2s and safe environments. In fact, I've said this repeatedly, and this was a part of my vision when I ran for office. The safest cities in America all have one thing in common. They invest in people, and we're already seeing the return of those investments. And if you can look in the room, I would humbly submit that our young people can speak to that better than any data point, because these are young people who are not just being employed, they're finding their purpose. They're also contributing to their families' financial stake. So all of that is bearing out as we see violence continues to go down in the city of Chicago and youth employment continues to go up. We believe that that's not a coincidence.
One follow-up, if you'll indulge me. With the Peacekeeper training program, will those people who are trained be placed in nonprofits or other areas?
That's a very good question. So as a result of their training, they actually will be dispersed in a variety of spaces. The goal is to help these young people have the training and the skills to go back into their communities, particularly their school communities, to create culture of calm and peace, to help young people recognize that their behavior and mental health serenity is crucial to safe environment. Unfortunately, there are too many of our young people who struggle with conflict resolution, but our school communities are getting stronger in that regard. And by training young people peer to peer, we believe that that's a surer way to create calm in school. I can tell you this on a personal note, and I'm sure Dr. Graham can relate to this. When I was a public school teacher in Chicago Public Schools, if I couldn't get through a message to a particular group of students, sometimes I would tap another student to interpret for me. right? So I remember one of my favorite students, I can say this now because he's 30, but one of my favorite students, Ronell, sometimes I would try to explain myself, and the class could not just get it together, and Ronell will interpret. In fact, I might call Ronell to, hey, how you doing? I might have Ronell come and do some interpretation in my press conferences if it gets real rough. Thank you for that question.
I'd like to ask off topic, given our time is tight. Okay.
I mean, I can be. Yeah. How many young people have applied for the summer program?
So the application process has just started. When did it open last week?
We did a soft launch at the end of February.
We did a soft launch at the end of February. Do you know how many folks have applied so far? We can get that back to you, but I can say this, the last couple of years, since 2023, since I've been mayor, we've averaged about 50,000 applicants.
I was going to say it's definitely more than 29,000.
It is, and that's why, thank you for that question. It's why I've been working and pushing with City Council. Many of you all know that my goal was to get to 30,000 positions. Members of the City Council pushed back. We didn't fall back to 2024 numbers, but we did increase it by 1,000, but there's a lot more work to be done. That's why the partnerships with the business community is so paramount.
Mayor, off topic, if I may.
Sure.
You've talked a lot about transparency and accountability. There's some new reporting today about some friction between CCPSA and COPA, leadership issues maybe between the two sides. Can you give us some insight onto where you come down on the issues that's unfolding and bubbling up between accountability as it pertains to, monitoring the Chicago Police Department?
Look, we all want a police department that delivers constitutional policing. My superintendent that I appointed, Larry Snelling, is committed to constitutional policing. We have seen the trust within communities grow. Is there work and more work to be done? Of course there is. Am I confident that we can get to a point where there is the type of accountability that allows for, again, constitutional policing and strengthened relationships within the communities in which these brave women and men serve? Of course. Look, there's no secret, particularly in the 80s, where you had commanders torturing black and brown men. You had state's attorneys that were prosecuting people that clearly the evidence wasn't there. It's a long, dark history, but we are transforming this city into a more just, equitable society, and no one is going to argue that there's more work to be done, but I'm absolutely confident as we're seeing positive results where we have a diverse workforce. Our police department is becoming more and more diverse. Interesting known fact, people should know that there are more Latina individuals that are applying for these positions. There are more still black candidates who are applying for these positions. I believe that type of diversity is important. 30%, almost 30% of the workforce are women in our police department. This is not the 80s police department, right? And so that's why you're hearing my level of confidence, work to be done, but I feel confident that we're going to get to a point where there's absolute, not just accountability, but constitutional policing that we can all be proud of.
All right, we got time for 2 more questions. We go Bennett, Rose, and then we'll get everyone else tomorrow, all right?
Yep.
Mayor, I'll be brief, Mayor, because I want to give my counterparts some
Okay,
some time.
and I'll try to go fast too.
A couple of weeks ago, I asked about whether or not the city was able to get out of its licensing agreement at Brighton Park. I was told your office would get back to me. I've reached out 2 or 3 times now, never heard back. Do you know what happened with that?
I'll make sure someone gets back to you. I apologize for the delay. We'll get somebody to get back with you.
So you don't know at this point?
Someone will get back with you, and I apologize for the delay.
Sure. The other quick follow-up, you mentioned you had success with finding people who needed shelter requests. I'm hearing there's still friction with that. How have you guys?
I mean,
found
if you're
success?
asking me if we've solved poverty in the city of Chicago, we have not solved poverty, right? There are poor people who live in this city, and homeless folks have been neglected in this city for decades, right? We built a one-system initiative out of a crisis. No other administration has been able to do that. Now, look, we've increased the amount of shelter beds by 126%. If you're asking me that the 70,000 people who are unhoused, who are doubling up, that we have solved that crisis, we have not. That's why I get to be mayor for more than one term, because the investments that we are making in ensuring that we're building more homes, building more affordable homes, responding to this crisis requires investment. And yes, there's a long way to go, but I don't want people to get discouraged, because if we weren't making those investments, it would be a far more severe circumstances that we were talking about. There was another young man, I can't remember his name now, but he raised this very question upstairs. And look, many people know my own personal story. My brother died addicted and unhoused. We're working hard every single day to address this crisis, and we'll continue to do that.
Hi, Mayor. Just quickly, want to ask you about what happened in Streeterville over the weekend. Alderman Hopkins has said that he wants to move the curfew up to 8 p.m., and he said that that's currently stalled in the Rules Committee. Do you think it's time to have that discussion, given what happened in Streeterville?
Well, look, the shootings in Chicago are still very much a problem, right? No one's going to disagree with that. Violent crime is down. Shootings are down. Homicides are down. Every single major category of violent crime in the city of Chicago is down. And of course, you know, we grieve the loss of individuals who have succumbed to violence in this city, you know, but as far as making sure that we keep our community safe, we have to do the things that work. And what works is that we have to invest in people. Do we have to get these illegal guns off the streets? Absolutely. Do we have to create more opportunities so that individuals know that they are supported? Absolutely. Do we have to hold people accountable when they do commit crimes? Absolutely. That's why I committed to promoting 200 more detectives, right? We've already seen our clearance rate go up, 56%, that number continues to grow. More work to be done, but I believe that by having policies in place that actually work and investing in people, that's our pathway to continue to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago.
Thank you all.
Mayor, there's some questions that have been raised. Yesterday, you said that you were going to appoint this committee to replace Carlos Ramirez-Rosa in the 35th Ward. There are some, Gil Villegas and another candidate who is interested in that position, says this whole thing that you're setting up, they're calling it, their words, not mine, just a sham. And it's disingenuous with the people who are on there connected to Carlos Ramirez-Rosa. How can people be assured that there really is going to be the best person and people actually being considered for this and the fix is not already in?
Look, you know, mayors before me have appointed individuals to the city council, and that responsibility is something that I take seriously. And I have a very clear vision for the city of Chicago, and this particular community, the 35th Ward, has long been a part of a progressive movement that calls for more investments in youth employment. They call for more housing and more affordable housing. They call for more mental and behavioral health care services. So any individual that represents those values, we will consider them. But again, we'll go through this open process, and you know, I'm going to exercise my authority to ensure that the representation in the 35th Ward reflects the values of the 35th Ward.
Hi, Mayor.
Allison,
I wanted to ask.
we'll get you
Sorry.
tomorrow. We'll start with you
real
tomorrow,
quick,
I promise,
real quick.
all right?
That's okay.
Just really quick. Okay,
It's okay.
Okay,
Just,
thank you.
it's okay, you all. I'm here. These students are here. Some of them are looking forward to getting back to class, so we got to hurry up. I know y'all looking forward to getting back to class, right? So yes, all right, be real quick. So if they start cutting up, it's not me. Yeah.
Commitments to Black Chicagoans. Can you talk about, does your recent focus on talking more urgently about investments like today signal that it's a priority for you to get your message across to the Black community ahead of 2027?
Well, look, it's my priority to invest in the people of Chicago, right? Who hears that message? You know, that is you all's responsibility to help not just record, but to get the message out, right? But, you know, this is really about what I've always done, and that's investing in people. And, you know, I would encourage you all to do community town halls like WTTW did, so that more people can engage directly with me. We think that those are great opportunities for the people of Chicago to be heard. And the reason why I think it's important is because I talk to thousands of people throughout the week, and the questions that they ask about youth employment and workforce. They ask about mental health support services. They ask about housing. They ask about the things that we can do to keep our community safe. I think the more that people know that those questions are being responded to through investments, I think it's going to engender more confidence for more people to actually engage and get involved to protect our democracy.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi. This is the last question, students. All right.
This weekend, Chicago police officers were directed to protect a Tesla dealership, which was being protested by people who are upset with the way that Elon Musk is operating so-called Doge. Was that an appropriate use of Chicago police resources? And that picture, which showed more than a dozen officers lined up in front of that dealership, is that the kind of public safety response that you will continue to show for Tesla property going forward?
We want to protect everyone in the city. That's the goal of our local law enforcement. You know, whether it's students, families, whether it's businesses and business owners. As you may be aware, we put together a robbery strategy a little bit over, not even a year ago, and we've seen a decline in robberies by 25% citywide. The collective work that we're doing to secure our city is not just policing alone. That's one component of it. But I think there's no secret here. My approach has always been full force of government. Our Take Back the Block, our Day in the Ward initiatives, all of these community engagements are centered around what it takes to build safe communities. And again, Charles Smith, who is our vice chair of World Business Chicago, we have these conversations quite a bit about making sure that our neighborhoods are safe, because that's going to engender more confidence, allow for businesses to benefit from a walkable business districts, and it also creates opportunities for our young people. So it's not just one component, it's a multi-layered approach, and that's the approach that we will continue to lead. Thank you all. God bless you all. Get to class, you all.